Welcome to The Explainer. We love to take big ideas and break them down for you. And today, oh man, we're diving into Mark Manson's bestseller. This is the book that completely flips the whole idea of self-help on its head.
All right, let's just jump right in, because I think we've all been there, right? This feeling is the absolute core of the book's entire philosophy. It's this crazy paradox that so many of us are living with. We're constantly told to chase happiness, but it really feels like the harder we chase it, the faster it runs away from us.
So our journey starts with something that's probably painfully familiar. It's this mental trap, right? One that our modern, super positivity-obsessed culture has kind of set for all of us. And it's got a great name, the feedback loop from hell.
This whole thing points to a really weird quirk of the human brain. Think about it. We don't just have feelings. We have feelings about our feelings. It's wild. We get angry about being angry, or we get anxious because we're feeling anxious. We start judging ourselves for feeling bad in the first place, and that is what just makes everything so much worse.
Okay, so here's exactly how this vicious cycle traps us. Picture this. You feel a negative emotion, right? Let's just say it's anxiety. But instead of just, feeling it, your brain immediately kicks in and goes, "Oh no, I'm not supposed to feel this way." And it's that second layer, that judgment, that just pours gasoline on the fire and makes the original anxiety feel completely overwhelming.
And this right here, this is the book's central paradox. Our constant, relentless chase to feel good is the very thing that's making us feel bad. So the secret, according to Manson, isn't about getting rid of negative feelings, because that's impossible. It's about getting better at handling them.
All right, let's get to the real heart of the book's philosophy. And it's captured perfectly in the story of a guy who was, by pretty much every standard, a total and complete failure.
For decades, this guy Bukowski was rejected by pretty much everyone. He worked at the post office, drank his life away, but then, against all odds, he becomes this huge best-selling author. Now, our culture absolutely loves a story like that, right? We see it as the ultimate never-give-up tale. But that's not really the lesson here at all.
Yeah, it sounds like a total contradiction, doesn't it? Don't try. Wait a minute, didn't this guy struggle for like 30 years? But the key is what he wasn't trying to do. See, his success didn't come from him trying to be some kind of winner. It came because he was actually comfortable with being a loser. He just accepted himself, all his flaws, the whole package, and then he wrote about it with this raw, unflinching honesty.
And that's the first subtle art right there. It's not about being indifferent and caring about nothing. No, it's about being comfortable with being different. It's about choosing what truly matters to you and just letting go of everything else. You stop caring about that rude guy at the gas station or your coworker's fancy vacation photos. You save your fucks, which are a limited resource, by the way, for things that are actually worthy. Things like your family, your purpose, and yeah, as the book points out, maybe burritos.
Okay, so if chasing positivity is the problem, then what's the solution? If we're not supposed to try to be happy, what in the world are we supposed to do? Well, it turns out the answer is problems.
Look, life is never going to be some magical, problem-free paradise. It just doesn't work that way. Instead, it's about exchanging your problems for better problems. Think about it. The stress of hitting a deadline for a job you actually love, that's a way better problem to have than the stress of worrying about how you're going to pay rent. So happiness isn't something you just find. It's an action. It's a constant work in progress of solving the problems you actively choose to have.
And that brings us to the most important question. This is the one that really cuts through all the noise. It's not, what do you want to enjoy? Everybody wants the good stuff, the reward, the victory. No, the real question is, what pain are you willing to sustain? Because ultimately, who you are isn't defined by your wins. It's defined by the struggles you're willing to go through to get there. Let me give you a perfect example of this. You've got two guys, right? Both kicked out of what would become the biggest bands in history. First, there's Dave Mustaine from Metallica. His metric for success became be more successful than Metallica, a metric he couldn't really control. And even though he sold 25 million albums with his new band Megadeth, he always felt like a failure.
Then you have Pete Best, kicked out of the Beatles. His metric eventually became having a stable, loving family. He lived a way simpler life, but, by his own account, a much happier one. It just goes to show you, the values you choose, the metrics you use to measure your life, they determine absolutely everything.
Okay, so let's see how this all builds up to one of the book's most powerful ideas. And it all comes down to a really simple but, well, profound distinction that honestly, most of us get wrong all the time.
Okay, so here it is. Fault versus responsibility. Look, tons of things happen in life that are not your fault. You didn't ask to get sick. You didn't ask for a loved one to betray you. That's the fault. It results from choices that have already been made. It's in the past. But how you respond to those events, that is always 100% your responsibility. Responsibility is what's happening now. It's the choices you're making in this very moment. You are always choosing how to interpret and respond to what's happening.
And this is where Manson does something brilliant. He takes that famous Spider-Man quote and flips it right on its head. It's not "with great power comes great responsibility." It's "with great responsibility comes great power." When you accept responsibility for your own experience, yeah, even the parts that suck and aren't your fault, you take back the power to change it. You stop being a victim of your circumstances, and you become the one holding the blueprints to your own life.
So all of this, it leads us to a final and maybe the most profound tool for cutting through all the trivial crap and focusing on what actually matters.
Okay, let's be real. Death scares us, so we do everything we can to avoid thinking about it. But according to the book, this is a huge mistake. In fact, Manson describes this harrowing experience he had, standing on the edge of a cliff, just so he could feel this truth deep in his bones. Because confronting your own mortality, that's the one thing that can snap all of your other values into the proper perspective, instantly.
There's this quote from the philosopher Ernest Becker that just nails it. Death is the light by which the shadow of all of life's meaning is measured. Basically, without death, nothing would really matter. It's the fact that our time is limited that gives our choices any weight at all. I mean, think about it. What would you care about if you knew you only had a year left? What about a month? Or just one day? All of a sudden, most of the stuff we worry about just melts away, doesn't it? So let's wrap this all up. What are the big takeaways here? First, stop trying so hard to be positive all the time. It's okay to feel bad sometimes. Second, embrace the fact that life is just a series of problems. Your job is to find good ones to solve. Third, choose your struggles and your values wisely, because they'll define your life. Fourth, take responsibility for your own experience. It's the source of your power. And finally, use the reality of death to clarify what's actually important to you.
And that really leaves us with one final powerful question to think about. It's the ultimate compass, really. The one that can point you away from all the trivial nonsense and toward a life that actually has meaning. So, in the face of your own death, what legacy would you choose to leave? And what would you choose to give a fuck about? The answer? Well, that's entirely up to you.